Morning, y'all. You might be wondering why we're not in the shop and why we're in the kitchen. And it's not going to be a cooking show. So, this sink, this faucet's been in here for, I don't know, about 15 years. And now it's been dripping. It's driving me crazy. I don't like it. I tried to get a set of cartridges for this thing, and I'm sure I could if I had enough patience, but I don't. That stuff at Lowe's is spread out all over a wall, and they don't have anything in order, so it's just about as cheap to buy a new one. So we're going to take this leaking one out and put this new one in. Plus, the other thing too is this sprayer, the hose is all cracked right up under here, and so we might as well just put all new system on there. So step one, after you've opened your box and got all the wrapping off of it, well, if you're like me, you got 2 tons of cleaning crap under here. So step one is to get some of this stuff out of here so we can get up under there. So let me get that done, and then I'll bring you back and show you what we got to do to swap this kitchen sink faucet out. That stuff moved out of the way now that I can hopefully get to everything. So the first step is, let me get this where we can see it. You need to cut the water supply off. So you got your valves, one for hot and one for cold, and oh, hopefully we can get those to turn. Alright, that's the cold water. It's turning off. So you just spin that all the way in. And now for this hot water, you want to be careful not to break it off, but there it goes. Okay. So you spin that all the way in. Alright, now the important part. You want to go up here to the sink and turn this faucet on. Now see, that right there tells me that those valves are not closing all the way. So I'm going to need a bucket to catch the water. Because what we got to do, go to those valves where we just were, and you follow those hoses up, and you'll see where they attach onto the bottom of the sink there. We got to take those loose, and then they're going to leak while we are working on getting the old sink out and the new sink in. And we don't really want them leaking all over the place under here. So we're going to find ourselves a bucket to stick them in. So let me go find that and I'll be back. A Tupperware bowl here to stick the hoses in, well, you know what I'm saying. So let me show you what we're going to do. Now that we've got the water cut off as much as we can, we're going to take these hoses off here and here and lay them in this Tupperware right here to catch the water while we do the rest of it. So for that, we're going to need either a crescent wrench or channel locks. I'm hoping that I can get up in there with a pair of channel locks, but I've got both here. Let me get those pulled off. And we'll soon know which one of them it is that's leaking by. this is pretty much the hardest part of the job, because you've got to get up in this area behind here, and there's not a lot of room. But once you get them loose, usually they'll come off with your hand, and it looks like it's the hot water that is the valve is leaking by. So set that right there, and we'll pull this cold water off. And you'll get a little water out of here, but it shouldn't be a lot, except for where that's leaking. Alright, let me grab another tool and I'll be right back. We've got our two water lines off. Since we're replacing this sprayer, we don't have to worry about saving the hose on it, so we're just going to pull it up and we're going to snip it. It'll just make it easier to get everything out of here. So snip that off and then go underneath, and you can pull it down out of its hole there and let it drain out. So we got that off. So now what remains, there's two plastic screw-on pieces that are actually holding that faucet in. Let me show you here. So on that brass right there, there's a plastic nut that's holding that on. So you got to undo both of those, and then we should be able to lift the old sink right out of there. And also, if you do have a leaking pipe, make sure you keep an eye on that so that you can empty it out before it starts overflowing. Otherwise, you'll just get a big mess. So, let me reach under here and undo those. And they should, you should be able to, yeah, get them with just your fingers. They shouldn't be that tight. There's one. Two fell in the water. Oh, God dang it. If you get a little water under here, don't worry about it. You just don't want to flood it. Alright, so those two are off. So now we should be able to pick this whole assembly up out of the top here. Should just come right out. Yep, there we go. Alright, so there's our old assembly and our old gasket. I want to take a paper towel and wipe the gunk off here. Now, you've also got this trim piece for your sprayer right here, and it also has a plastic nut on the bottom of it, so you want to pull that off. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll bring you back when we start putting the new stuff on. Okay, so I just pulled this off the bottom of this part. So now you got a hole there. So all of our old has been removed, and now we're going to go back with the new. So get the gasket here. Hold on. All right. Slip that up in there. So you just take your new piece, put it there, and then your nut will go on the bottom. And we'll and in order for this to fit on thicker countertops and such, they've got long threads, so you got to be prepared for that, because it may take you a while to get that screw all the way up where it needs to be. And then you may have to empty your water bucket out again. So now, sometimes what you've got to do is reach over the top and the bottom to get that thing tightened down. It can be kind of a pain in the butt, but get it centered up where you want it. Oh, and tighten it on down. All right, that should do us there. Okay. So we got our new trim piece on. Then we want to take our new sprayer. Straighten the hose out, feed it down in there. Get it in place. So we've got that in place. Then we're going to take our new faucet with its plastic piece on the bottom. Make sure you put your cold on the right side where it goes and set it in place. And once you get that in place, then you're going to take the two new plastic knobs that come with it and put them back on the two stubs on the bottom where the water goes in. So we'll run those in there. And again, just like the sprayer, they're very long stubs there. Let me get the other one on here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And like I said before, in the meantime, if you've got these hoses where they're leaking and such, definitely want to keep an eye out so that you don't overfill your bucket. Alright, so it's going to look like this right here when you get the camera in the right place. So you can see we've got the plastic pieces on there holding the sink down, and then you can take your rubber hose from your sprayer here, and sometimes they screw on and sometimes they just plug in. This one is just a push lock, so we can take it and just stick it on there till it clicks like that. So that's done. Now we're going to empty this water one more time. So we'll come up here and make sure that this, before we put a final tightening on it, yeah, we're gonna have to move that a little bit. I got it kind of crooked. There we go. Okay. You want to square this up. Yep. So then, now that we've got everything square, we'll go back down underneath and give each one of those plastic rings that looked like that a final snugging with our hand. And then the first thing we're going to do is get this hot water line back on there so it'll quit leaking all over me. So now that that's in place, we can, yep, that's tight. That's tight. Alright. So then you put your, in this case I'm going to put the hot water back on first because it's the one that's leaking and making a mess. And it just threads on the end of that stub. And you run it up real quick so that it quits leaking. And then you can take your crescent wrench and snug it on down. Now these have a rubber gasket in them, so you do not have to put the Hercules to them and over tighten them. Just snug is just good enough. Alright, so that one's on. Then we'll put our cold water on. Be careful not to cross thread them or anything. Channel locks on this, I can't really get a good swing on my little crescent wrench. All right, so now we've got those back on there. We're going to dump our water out here. And then what I like to do is get myself a big wad of paper towels. And go over everything under here with them and make sure that That way, when I turn this water back on fully, if I see any drips, then I know I've got a leak. So we'll go up in here, and especially this one because it was leaking past the valve, and we'll wipe all this stuff off and make sure it's dry. And this way, once we turn the water on and start looking to see if there's any leaking, we'll be able to spot it straight away. So now that we've got all the water wiped off, we will go ahead and turn the water back on fully. All right, so our water, sorry about the camera angles, y'all. Our water's back on, and I don't see anything dripping or leaking. So we'll go up here and test our sink, our new sink here. Oh yeah. So, cold water, hot water, and sprayer. Alright, we got hot water, we got cold water. So now that we've run it, then we'll go back underneath one more time and check for leaks. And I do not see any. No water dripping down, so we are good to go. That is a successful installation. So now we'll put all this stuff back in the bottom of the cabinet and clean everything up and get rid of the old stuff, and we are done. So that is how to put yourself a new kitchen faucet in and get rid of your leaking old one, and or change the style of, you know, whatever you want to do. So hopefully this has helped somebody out, and if not, hopefully it was entertaining watching my fat ass fit under a sink. Either way, appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.